Hi everyone, welcome to or back to my channel. I'm Sally and this is my channel Secret Life of a Seamstress, where I love to talk all about sewing and making clothes. Thank you so much for joining me today, and I hope you're all doing really well and you're having a lovely week or weekend or whenever you might be watching this. In today's video, I'm going to be sharing with you 5 of my most favourite sewing patterns. So these are patterns that I've sewn and I love and I've made and remade time and again. So if you do know me or if you've followed me for a while, you'll know that I don't tend to buy an awful lot of sewing patterns, but what I really like to do is get the most out of the sewing patterns I already have. So if there's something that I do want to make, maybe I've been inspired by something that I've seen on the high street or online, I will always go back to the patterns I already have in my stash to see if there's something that I can tweak or change or maybe make from a different kind of fabric and just bring it a little bit more up to date, maybe a little bit more on trend, and just get the look that I'm after before I think about investing in a new pattern. Obviously there are times when it's nice to buy a new pattern and it's also necessary as well, but for me I just really love to sort of get the most out of the patterns I already have. So in this video I'm going to be going into a bit more depth with each pattern, so I'll talk you through the sort of basics of the pattern, certain things that really drew me to that pattern, and maybe things that make me think that I can hack them around and change them a little bit. And I'm also just going to be talking about and sharing all of the different versions and maybe a few hacks as well of the patterns. And I just hope that this video will inspire you to sort of get out the sewing patterns that you've already made and maybe that you really love, and think about how you can make them in a different way to maybe get more use out of them. So just a little disclaimer before I get started, this probably will end up being quite a long video. I have actually got into the habit recently of feeling as though my YouTube videos need to be short, sharp and snappy, and that I need to make them really sort of concise, and it stopped me being more chatty, I guess. But I do feel as though there is a time and a place for a longer video as well, and today's video might be one of those longer videos. So I thought I would first of all start with the pattern that I'm wearing today, and I wonder if you could guess what it was before I'd even started talking. This pattern is the Logan shacket by Style Arc. So this is the Logan shacket pattern. I will pop it up on screen as well with the line drawing so that you can get a better view of it. I originally brought this, must be about 3 or 4 years ago, and I bought it because I really wanted to make like an outerwear shacket, which was originally what I did make with it, but I quickly found after making it a few times that this pattern was just so versatile and there were so many different other ways that I could use it. So the Logan shacket is quite a basic shirt pattern. It is very oversized. It has a back yoke. It has some nice long straight sleeves, a collar on a stand, button plackets with buttons and buttonholes, and then some oversized patch pockets as well. As I've mentioned before, I do really feel as though this is quite a good pattern for beginners to shirt making. It's one of the very first patterns that I sewed before I'd really made any kind of sort of tailored shirt. I made this quite early on in my sewing journey, I guess, when I wasn't particularly experienced, and I actually found this pattern really nice and easy to follow. I felt like it was really well drafted. It came together really quickly and easily. It does have the collar on the stand, but actually the button placket is just a turn and stitch button placket, which makes it nice and easy, and the sleeves are just straight, so there aren't any plackets or anything like that to contend with. So I found this quite a nice, quick and easy sew, and once I got familiar with the pattern, I can actually now sew this up in about 2 hours. It really is quite a quick one. I think what you would normally sew this pattern from is like maybe a thick wool fabric, maybe even a fleece, and you would wear it for out of the house. So for all the patterns I'm going to be sharing today, I actually went through it and added up how many different versions I'd made of each pattern. I've made 6 versions now of this Logan shacket. The number 6 is actually quite low in comparison to the other patterns that I'm going to be sharing today. So just to let you know, there are some well-used patterns coming up in today's video. So the first version that I made of this pattern was made from like a more heavyweight brushed cotton twill, like a plaid, and I did intend to wear it out of the house as more of a jacket. And because the Logan shacket is quite oversized, I could wear this over jumpers and sweaters and sweatshirts, or I could wear it just over a t-shirt as an oversized shirt. I quickly made another plaid version from a lighter brushed cotton. The second one I still have in my wardrobe. It is getting a little bit worn because I have worn it so much, but I do wear this still quite a lot. over Agnes t-shirts, over vests and over Ogden camis and things like that, with jeans and sometimes with shorts, and that is just a look that I absolutely love. It's so easy to wear. Another version I made was this denim look one, so I still forget what this kind of fabric is called. I think it's like a washed linen twill or something. I wanted like a denim look, again just to wear over camis and t-shirts and things, not as an outerwear piece. This one actually worked really nicely as well underneath jumpers, and even though the Logan is quite oversized in a drapey fabric, I just felt as though it could be worn that way. It didn't feel too bulky. And then another I feel interesting take on this pattern was this quilted version that I made. You may or may not remember this one. This is a good 3 years or so old, but I still really love it, and I really enjoyed playing around with the pattern when I was making this one because I wasn't quite sure how it would turn out. I needed to sort of change up the pattern slightly because I couldn't have the turn under button band with this fabric. It just would have been too thick. So instead of doing the turn under button band, I made like a contrast facing for the button band from this lovely Liberty Tarn-Lawn fabric, and I just used that as a lovely contrast so you get that kind of flash of the Liberty if you're wearing this open, which I do. And then I've just sort of played around with the contrast in the collar stand, and also I've just bias bound the inside seams as well. Oh, and I forgot to say actually that I just drafted a little cuff piece. So this is kind of like a facing, I guess. I just sewed it to the bottom of the sleeve, and then when I turn the sleeve back, you've got that pop again of the Liberty Tarn-Lawn, which I really like against this green fabric. I actually bias bound the hem as well rather than turning it under, and that was just to reduce bulk. And then rather than using normal buttons, I've still done buttonholes on the button band, but I've just put the little denim buttons in just to make it feel a little bit more jacket or shacket like. So again, just by using a different fabric and making a couple of twists and changes, it just gives the whole pattern a completely different look and feel. I think it's gone from being sort of quite a drapey overshirt to wear over vest to being a more of an outerwear quilted shacket, and I love it when you can do that kind of thing with patterns. And then my favourite version, I think, is probably the version that I'm wearing here. This is sewn from a lovely light stripy cotton fabric that I got from Fabric Godmother. So with this one I did change up the pockets slightly, so I haven't used the big oversized pockets for this one. The pockets that come with the Logan shacket are kind of bigger, and they've also got like an angled bottom as well, and I didn't want quite such a big pocket with this shirt, so I think I stole a pattern piece and that works better, I think. And then I've just played around with the stripe direction with the yoke for this one as well. And then lastly, for the Logan shacket, I've also got this white linen version. So this is quite a heavy linen. I think it's a linen viscose blend actually, it's not 100% linen. Made this one for a holiday cover-up. I've not actually worn it as a holiday cover-up yet, but I have worn it just as I'm wearing it today really, with like a stripy vest underneath and with jeans and sandals. And again, I just find that a really nice relaxed look. Funnily enough, this one I've never added buttons to, and I've never put the buttonholes in either. I think I was making this just before we went on holiday, and I kind of ran out of time, and I thought, you know what, I'm not going to button it up anyway. I'll just leave it like with no buttons and just wear it open. And I keep feeling as though I need to put the buttons on, but I just never have, even though I'm still wearing it. For this one, I actually took out the back of the yoke, or the back yoke, I should say, because I didn't feel like it needed it so much. This is just a plain fabric. I didn't really want that detail on the back, so taking the yoke out is quite an easy change to make. You just need to redraft the pattern slightly, and that worked really nicely just for a plain white shirt. When I'm wearing it, I do roll the sleeves up like how I'm wearing this one. For this version, you can see that I've actually used the shacket pockets, and I do feel like they're a bit big for this shirt. So I kind of wish that I'd used these pockets instead, because I feel like that just suits a more relaxed version, or a more relaxed shirt more. I just want to pause here quickly to talk about the sponsor of today's video, which is Serious Readers. If you're a regular to my channel, you already know how much I love my HD light by Serious Readers. I really do use it all the time. If you're not familiar with Serious Readers, they are a lovely, local to me lighting company that build bespoke lighting solutions For crafters like you and me who love to craft into the evening and even in the duller, bad weather, but struggle with poor lighting solutions, Serious Readers have so many different lighting options available on their website, and they're perfect for just popping on when you want that extra bit of focus on whatever close-up work you might be doing. I use mine a lot for reading in the morning and in the evening. I do struggle with my eyesight a little bit more these days as I'm getting older, and I do need to wear my glasses, but I also find that just putting on my Serious Readers light when it is darker in the morning or the evening, it just gives me so much more clarity and focus on whatever I'm working on. All Serious Readers HD lights come fitted with something called daylight wavelength technology, which replicates the daylight spectrum as close as is technically possible. They're also fitted with a dimmer switch, so you can up or down the brightness as much as you want to, and they also come with a beam width function as well, which is perfect for getting the focus exactly where you need it. My light is a floor standing HD light, which I can easily move from room to room because it has a lightweight base. For me, I tend to use mine quite a lot in the living room because that's where I sit and craft in the evening, but I also do move it into this dining room here so that I can have a better focus when I'm sewing in the evenings or when I'm cutting out and I just need a little bit of extra light. Serious Readers are offering £150 off of any of their HD lights using my code SALLY. This code also entitles you to free UK delivery and a 30-day money-back guarantee as well. I'll leave all of the details for the Serious Readers website in the description below this video, and I hope that after watching my video today you'll pop over and check them out. Thank you to Serious Readers for sponsoring this part of the video. The second pattern on the list is the Ogden Cami by True Bias. This pattern I have made, I think, a total of 10 times. Let me know if you've made the Ogden Cami any more than that. It's a super simple V-neck style cami top. It has a partial lining, spaghetti straps, no darts, no shaping at all. And it's quite cropped in length, I guess. So it comes to around the top of your hips, I would say. I think this is a really good pattern for a confident beginner. I think once you've got a little bit of sewing experience under your belt, this is a really great pattern to try. There are a few sort of more tricky bits in there, I guess, like attaching the facing or the lining and the spaghetti straps, but I think it's a really good one for advancing your skills, and it's one that I sewed when I was quite a beginner sewer. So with the Ogden Cami there are loads of different fabrics that you can use, and it all depends really on how you want the cami to look and feel. Obviously if you're going to use like a structured fabric like a cotton or something, you're going to get more of a structured vest. For me, I much prefer to sew these from viscose. I love it when a cami is nice and drapey and it sort of floats over your body rather than sticks out. However, I have to say I have been on a bit of a journey with the Ogden Cami over my sewing life, and I have to say that when I first started sewing this pattern I really didn't think it was for me. I'm not someone who likes to be very exposed in terms of showing a lot of skin, so I do struggle to wear strappy things without anything over the top. However, where this pattern has really come into its own for me is that I love to wear it again underneath things, so it's a really great layering piece for me. I love particularly to wear it underneath my hand knitted cardigans. I think a nice sort of drapey silky cami looks so nice underneath knitwear. I do find the V of the back of this top quite low, so that's something to bear in mind if you are the same as me. You can raise the V in the back and the neck, and I have done that before, but for me I do quite like the V neckline if it's worn underneath something. I'm weird. I'm very weird and very particular about how things feel on me. Again, like with a lot of the patterns that I'm going to be including today, this is a very hackable pattern. So I've made a dress version of this, and all I did to sew the dress version of this was just use the lining pieces. So all I did was just make a bodice from both of the lining pieces. I just double lined it, made the straps and attached a full gathered skirt with a belt. There are so many people around that have hacked the Ogden into a dress. It's a really great way to hack the Ogden. You can hack it into like a single tiered dress like I have, but you can also hack it to be like a tiered midi dress as well, and that looks really lovely too. Another version that I've made that I absolutely love is this one. This one has a button down hack, so again I've just used the two lining pieces, extended this bit to make a little button placket, and added a really short peplum which doesn't have a lot of gather to it. So this isn't my hack, I can't take credit for this. This is actually from the True Bias website, so if you are looking to make a similar top to this, then pop over to their website. But I do really love this. It's quite cropped, so it looks really nice with like high-waisted jeans, and I tend to wear this again under a cardigan. Love this fabric. This is an Art Gallery rayon, and I think the buttons just give it a really delicate feel. And then these are my more well-worn and well-loved Ogdens. So I have 3 neutral toned versions. I have 2 in this lovely Atelier Brunette viscose Dobby fabric. This is such a beautiful fabric. It's probably one of my most favourite ever fabrics, and if I'm ever looking to make something nice and delicate like this, I'll always gravitate to Atelier Brunette because I think their rayons and their viscose chalets are just so beautiful, so drapey and so lovely. So this is probably my most well-worn one, this cream or ivory version. And because this is ivory, it's quite see-through. What I've done, rather than just have the half lining, is I've just extended the lining down. So we have a full lining under here. I hope you can see that. Just from the same fabric, but I've just cut the lining an inch or so shorter than the main piece. And that's just because if you do if I am wearing this out, you can then just get that little bit of sort of see-through hem at the bottom where the lining doesn't come fully to the bottom. And I think that looks really nice. Because I love this fabric so much, I have actually finished this with French seams inside just to make it a little bit more special. So I've got that version, and then I've got the sort of mushroomy or oyster version underneath, and I feel like that goes really nicely with denim. So I wear that one quite a lot with my denim look Logan shacket. And then I've also got this one. This is, I think this might be inside out actually. So this is sewn from a polyester crepe. I don't normally go for polyester blend fabrics anymore, but nonetheless, this is still in my collection from quite a while ago, and I do pick it up quite a lot because it doesn't crease. So it's really good if you're in a rush. Yeah, often this would just be good to go because it doesn't crease quite as much as my viscose ones. But actually with this being inside out, you can really see there the lining. So this one I've fully lined as well because the fabric was see-through, and you can just see that it finishes an inch or so below the bottom. And then I've got 2 kind of print versions as well. This navy one, this is another Atelier Brunette crepe fabric, which is so lovely, so soft. It goes really nicely underneath plain cardigans and shirts, and again I've just finished it with a French seam. I've finished all of these with French seams actually, and I think that just gives them a really nice finish. And then I've got that one as well, just another sort of oyster neutrally colour, but it's also got the mustard and the green. So I wanted to mention actually as well that years ago in one of my very old Ogden camis that I don't actually have anymore, I did round off the neckline, and that was a really easy change to make. So if you're not someone that likes the V-neck, similar to me, then you can sort of round off the top of it. So that I think is all of my Ogdens. Obviously I do have a few that aren't with me anymore. I sewed a few from a cotton blend and also a peach skin fabric, which I just didn't like to wear at all. So those have been passed on now, and I know the kind of fabrics that I like to sew with and what I like to wear now. So now that I know how I like to make and wear the Ogden cami, it really has become a firm favourite in my pattern library and pattern wardrobe. Okay, next let's have a dress pattern, and I wonder if you can guess what dress pattern I'm going to include. It is the Darling Ranges by Megan Nielsen. So this is predominantly, I guess, a dress pattern, but it does come with other options as well, and I went through and counted up all the versions of this pattern that I think I've made, and I've made either 13 or 15. I kept losing count, so I'm going to say 13 because that sounds a little bit better than 15. 15 seems an awful lot. So if you haven't seen the Darling Ranges pattern, this is a really lovely fit and flare style dress. So I'll start with the pattern image because this is probably the most popular version of the pattern. It has a V-neck bodice which buttons fully down through the skirt. It's finished with a facing and a faced button band, and then elasticated sleeves which kind of gather nicely at your elbow. But there are also other versions that you can make of this pattern, so you can make it just as a straight blouse and you can make a straight dress as well. So again, this was one of the patterns that I made quite early on in my sewing life and quickly became obsessed with. I originally made this exact version that was on the front of the pattern from a viscose fabric actually, which was an unusual choice because I would say that as a beginner I probably should have gone with something a little bit more stable, but nonetheless it did work really nicely actually, and it was a lovely floaty summer dress. Following on from that, I made many other sort of mini length fit and flare styles of this dress. One with straight short sleeves, a couple of sleeveless versions, and I also went on to make various different versions of the blouse as well. So I made a lovely pink peplum style blouse from an Atelier Brunette double gauze, and this blouse has been worn so much. It's just becoming one of those blouses that I just get out year after year. It goes so nicely with high-waisted things. This was kind of a pattern hack, I guess, although a pretty easy one really. But what I did was use the bodice of the dress and I just cut the kind of back skirt pattern piece really short and just attached that to the bottom of the blouse. For some reason, and I don't know why to this day, I ended up just sewing the peplum the whole way around the bottom of the blouse, and it would have been much better and much easier to wear if I'd kind of cut the peplum in the middle of the blouse so that I could just button it fully through. I also made like the standard short sleeve blouse version of this pattern as well, which I really like, and then various different other dress versions. I think as I kind of grew up, got older and my style changed, I was much more wanting to wear longer length dresses, midi dresses, and even maxi dresses. So I've made a few versions of this dress just with the standard bodice and a longer gathered skirt. I have this lovely one again from Atelier Brunette crepe, which I wore quite a lot on holiday, and it was a lovely floaty dress, and I think because you've got the longer sleeves it's good for when it's not too warm as well, and also you feel a little bit more covered up that way if you don't want to be too exposed to the sun. I still have this version in my wardrobe, which is by far my most worn version. I get this out year after year and I absolutely love it. So this is sewn from a viscose, so it's just got the standard bodice, standard elasticated gathered sleeves, and then I've just added 2 gathered tiers to the bottom of the skirt. I used the Lyra dress tiers from the Lyra dress pattern just because they were already done. I did play around with the length a little bit, but if you don't have the Lyra dress pattern you could just as easily sort of make your own tiers up if you wanted to do a little hack like this. So I've since made this exact dress again in gingham fabric, which I'm not quite sure about and which needs to come out this summer so that I can test it out and see how I feel in it. And then funnily enough, I'd never made the straight dress version until earlier this year. This is sewn from a viscose linen fabric in this lovely large floral print from Fabric Godmother, and I think this is going to be a great holiday cover-up dress for really hot weather. It's so sort of cool because of that lovely natural fibre in it, and it's quite oversized as well. You could make a belt to go with this, but for me I'm just going to leave it as an oversized dress because I just like the floatiness of that. I'm really pleased with how that turned out actually. And then recently as well I made another sort of straight standard version of the blouse with the v-neck and short sleeves from another Atelier Brunette embroidered double gauze. I just realised how much Atelier Brunette fabric there is in this video actually, but I think that's a good example of how I tend to work. Like if I know how a pattern fits and I know how much I love it, I'm then more willing to invest in like the higher priced, more high quality fabrics because I know that the pattern fits me well, I know that I enjoy wearing it, and I know how I enjoy wearing it, and it's just a better way to sort of get your money's worth rather than splurging on a lovely fabric and then realising that you don't actually like the style or the fit of the pattern that you've made. And also when I was putting this video together as well, I was thinking about how much my style has changed since I first started sewing a good 5, 6, 7 years ago. I mean, it's not the first I started sewing, but when I really got back into dressmaking, let's say, my style was completely different to what I'd say it is now. It's changed so much along the way as I've got older. I've just wanted to dress differently. I much more prefer to wear blouses and longer dresses, and I think that's another really good sign of a pattern if you can use it throughout your style journey as well. So as your style changes, you can kind of sew different versions of the pattern, or you can adapt it slightly just to bring it more in line with how you want to dress, if that makes sense. Okay, so let's move on to the fourth pattern in my list of 5, and that is the Agnes top by Tilly and the Buttons. Just in case you haven't seen the Agnes top before, it is a fitted jersey t-shirt top with a few different style options. So it has quite a low scooped neckline. You can make it either with that low scoop neckline, or you can have it with sweetheart gathered neckline just at the front of your chest. You can sew it with straight long sleeves, straight short sleeves, or you can make this sort of gathered, elasticated, puffy sleeve as well. Skill level for this one, it's classed as for improvers on the Tilly and the Buttons pattern envelope and on their website. I would say confident beginner, because I sewed this when I'd only just started sewing knit fabrics really, and I actually found it quite an easy pattern to sew. I think one of the most difficult things about sewing t-shirts can be fitting the neckband, and because this is such a wide scoop neck, I've always found it really easy to fit the neckband, and I think because it sort of stretches out so much over your body, I've always found that it sat quite nicely. Whereas if you're making like a crew neck t-shirt, sometimes you can get that sort of sticking up bit. If you are sort of starting out, it's always good to probably use like a cotton jersey or something. So the first version that I ever sewed of this pattern was this stripy puff sleeve version, and again, similar to the Ogden cami, I felt as though everyone was sewing this t-shirt at one time. So again, I just felt as though I should give it a go. But similar to the Ogden, I've always felt the Agnes was quite clingy on me. So I have to say that I never really wore this t-shirt very much. I was sewing it from a viscose jersey. It was very clingy. I couldn't really wear it underneath anything because of the big puffy sleeves, and I just felt as though it wasn't really me. So even though I enjoyed the whole sewing experience, it was one of those makes that just didn't really get worn, sadly. And then I did try out a couple of other versions of the Agnes. They were sewn from cotton jerseys, I think. Cotton jersey has a little bit more structure, so I felt a little bit better wearing these two colourful t-shirts. And then I kind of left the Agnes alone for a good few years, and only really came back to it, I would say, when my style kind of changed and I felt as though I was wearing more layered looks similar to what I'm wearing today. I started to sew and wear the Agnes so that I could wear it underneath things more. So again, underneath my Logan shackets, again underneath knitted cardigans, and I really liked that look because I feel as though a very fitted t-shirt does work really nicely when you're wearing something over it. It gives you a really nice shape. You don't feel quite so exposed and on show. But also, the more Agneses I've sewn, have I said how many I've made? I don't think I had I? I've made 11 different versions of this top and every single version has kind of led me to the place I am now. So I know how to make the Agnes and I know what fabrics to sew it from and how those fabrics are going to make me feel when I'm wearing it, if that makes sense. So it's all a journey, isn't it? So yeah, the Agnes I find really comes into its own for me worn underneath things. But if I'm ever going to be wearing it on its own, I tend to not go for anything too clingy, so not really my viscose jerseys. I would more so go for like a soft cotton jersey, because then, as I say, you've got a bit more structure. The only exception I've made to sewing it from a viscose jersey is the version I've made where I made it a little bit more baggy. So for this version, I literally straighten the side seams, so the Agnes does kind of curve in at your waist and go out a bit again to give it its nice fitted shape. So all I did was literally just straighten the side seams, and that gave me a bit more of a baggy style t-shirt, and that did work really nicely. And that t-shirt has actually been worn to death as well and probably needs remaking. So yeah, I'm just really careful with the kind of fabrics I choose, and I think about how I'm going to be wearing that particular Agnes, whether I'm going to be comfortable wearing that particular fabric on its own and not underneath something, if that makes sense. I haven't really hacked the pattern very much other than straighten the side seams, and then you will have seen, if you have been watching my recent videos, that I just did this little scalloped neckline. Can you call that a hack? I'm not even sure that's justified at being called a hack. But it's a little change, isn't it, that just makes it a little bit different. So this is an example actually of, so I would wear this one on its own with a pair of summer trousers, and the reason I feel comfortable enough to do that is just because this fabric is nice and soft, it doesn't cling too much, it's a cotton pointelle jersey, and yeah, I just don't feel like it sort of clings and hangs quite as much as the viscose version, so I feel comfortable wearing that on its own. Again, I know I'm a little bit weird about things. It's just the way I am. A hack that I would like to try with this pattern though is actually to try and see if I can make it into a vest. Because I love the neckline shape so much of this, I wonder if it would be easy enough to just sort of round off the armhole, or maybe you wouldn't even need to do that actually because it is quite fitted, and just add like a band of fabric, and that might make a really nice like tank top or vest top for summertime. I think I'm definitely going to give that a go. It would be a good hack to try. Let me know if you'd like to see that. And then I have two long sleeve versions, a mustard one and a stripy one. And I tend to wear those more so underneath things because they're more wintry versions, and you will have seen this stripy one. I kind of wear it with the sleeves just peeking out of the bottom of jumpers, and it keeps me warm, and you also just get that little sort of pop of stripes as well. And then the last pattern I have in this list of 5 is the Ilford jacket by Friday Pattern Company. So again, another one that I've loved making and I've shared a lot with you lately. So again, another really, really popular pattern, but I will just share the details with you quickly. So the Ilford is a boxy style, sort of oversized workwear style jacket, I guess, or utility style jacket. It has a flat collar, a turn under button band, straight sleeves or sleeves that you can sew with a cuff and a placket. And there are various different sort of pocket options that you can use with this pattern as well. So you can mix and match pockets and make it look different every time. So this is the pattern in this little collection that I've probably sewn the least, but I think I am by no means done with this pattern. I love it so much, and I have so many different ideas of things that I can use this pattern as a base for. In terms of skill level, I think if you are a confident beginner, I think you could definitely give this pattern a go, especially if you make it in its most basic forms. I think it's a really good sort of beginner level jacket to sew. So I started with this khaki version, and this was the most basic form of the jacket. So it's the cropped version, it just has the straight sleeves. It has the turn under button placket, and then I've just gone for the hand warmer pockets. I've sewn it from a khaki cotton twill fabric, I think this is, from Minerva. As soon as I made this jacket, I just instantly fell in love with it. I love a khaki jacket, and I really love anything that's got like a utility style to it. I think wearing something utility is a great way to make any outfit look a little bit more casual. So I tend to wear this version quite a lot just with jeans and a t-shirt. I love a stripy t-shirt underneath it, but I also wear it over dresses sometimes, so it looks really, really nice if you're just wearing it over a plain dress. So I have quite a fitted ribbed knit dress, ready to wear one. Actually I have two. And a lovely sort of t-shirt dress, like a maxi t-shirt dress, and it looks so nice just worn over both of those dresses because it kind of dresses them down a bit and makes it look really nice if you're wearing trainers, but also it just again covers up the fittedness t-shirt dress and rib dress, how you might feel in them just on their own, if you know what I mean. So it's a really good way to accessorize, I guess, with a jacket. Is that what I'm trying to say? My mind is going fuzzy now. Second one I made was this fleece version, and that's just the lengthened version, exactly the same, the most basic form of the jacket but just lengthened. This is a great one just to wear with leggings and sweatshirts and t-shirts just for a casual day, and it's really warm and cozy, so it's great for just throwing on if you're going out to the shops or something. And then I left the pattern alone for a little bit, and then I came back to it this winter and went a bit mad with it. So the next version I made was this wool Ilford one. So this one is made from a wool fabric. Again, it's just the same really as my khaki version, but for this one I've lined it. So I've fully lined the jacket. And because I've sewn it from a wool, it just makes it so much more easy to wear, because wool can sometimes kind of rub up against knitwear, but the lining just makes it slide on and off you nicely. This is a great one for sort of in between when you're in autumn time. It's not massively warm as a winter coat, but it is a really good one and you just need to be warm when it's a little bit cooler. And I really love this one, again worn over dresses and things, but just goes really nicely with jeans and boots in the winter time. And then my two most recent versions are probably my favourite actually. This one I made in autumn time. This was completely influenced by all the jackets that were around on the high street. Just kind of collarless jackets with this curved shape at the top and bias bound all around the edge. So this one I did have to hack the pattern around a little bit for. So I needed to take the collar completely out, and then I just needed to remove part of the button band as well, because there wasn't anything to turn under on this jacket because it was just going to be bias bound. And then obviously I've just curved off the top and the bottom, and then like my wool version I've just completely lined it inside. And again, that just feels so lovely to wear and so easy to wear as well, because it just slips on and off you. I love this one. This has had so much wear. In the autumn time I used to just wear it with jeans and a long sleeve top underneath, and yeah, just absolutely love this one. So I think that's a good example of how you can just sort of hack the Ilford a little bit and just get a completely different look. I think the boxy shape of the pattern is such a good base for adding things and removing things and changing things slightly, and I just have so many ideas for it for the future. I just wish I had time to make them all. And then this one I made just before Christmas, and this is definitely one of my favourites as well. Just sewn from this lovely Mind the Maker thermal quilted fabric. So this one did take a bit more work because I was working with a quilted fabric again. I just sort of bias bound all the seams in the inside, and I took out part of the button band as well because I wasn't going to be folding under. I was just going to be bias binding the edge of the button band. Got the hand warmer pockets on the front there, and then I've just gone for a contrast collar to get that sort of barn jacket feel. And I've also just drafted a little cuff piece as well, so that I can turn the cuffs back and have the same contrast as the collar. And then with this one I've just finished it with the metal snaps, and I've actually finished the last 3 of my Ilfords with these snaps actually, and they work really nicely and they just give more of a wintry sort of outerwear feel, I think, rather than actual buttons, although I do love an actual button of course. And this one is slightly lengthened as well because I just wanted this one to come past my bottom area rather than have the cropped length. I love this one so much. I don't know if this one's my favourite or the cream one. It's so easy to wear and so cosy, and I actually wore this somewhere recently and I left it at the venue, and I was so worried that I would never get it back, and I was actually sort of planning how I would remake the coat in my head. So yeah, that's how much I love it. I would have been so sad if that got lost. So future hacks I would like to do with this Ilford pattern are to make a quilted version and possibly a reversible version, similar to loads of jackets I've seen around on the high street. I would also really like to make a sleeveless version as well and try it as a gilet and see how that works. So that's another hack I would like to try. Similar to this style in terms of length and everything, like denim jackets. I'm sure you've seen them around on the high street as well, just longer denim jackets, even with a belt at the waist so you can belt them. And to me, all of these jackets, they just look like Ilford jackets. They've just got different bits added or different bits taken away, and I think that's how you know you've got a really good pattern, when you can use it as a base for so many other different hacks. I've got 5 quite different looking jackets there, and I've not had to buy a new pattern for a single one of those, and I just love that about sewing. It's one of my most favourite things about sewing, just thinking about the shapes of patterns and the lines of them and how you can switch them up and how you can add things and how you can change things, and all part of the fun, and I absolutely love it. I feel as though I'm coming to the end of my voice now. I feel like I've talked quite a lot in this video. So yeah, I do hope it's been interesting. And if you would like another similar type video, let me know in the comments as well what your tried and tested sewing patterns are. Let me know what your patterns are that you return to time and again. If you have enjoyed this video, please do give it a like, and please don't forget to subscribe to my channel, and I'd love to have you over on Patreon as well. Over there I post extra videos, so every month we have a brand new exclusive video just for club members, and I also post lots of other sort of behind the scenes and tips and tricks and some tutorials as well. So if you feel like that would be interesting to you, I will leave the link in the video description, and I'd love you to pop over and have a look. Don't forget to pop over and check out Serious Readers as well. Thank you so much for watching everyone, take care, and I look forward to seeing you in another video soon. Bye.